Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Catholic Education Foundation podcast number 55. This podcast will feature Father Tony Cecil. He is the pastor of St. Raphael the Archangel Parish, and as always, the Catholic Education Foundation president, Mr. Rich Lecklider. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Tony, thank you. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so many great topics, so many great questions here. Rich, this is a great opportunity to highlight a great parish community like St. Raphael, as well as one of our young, dynamic, awesome priests, Father Tony, and its important work in youth ministry.
Oh yeah, and we're a partner with Father Tony in the ministry of the school for sure, and we'll talk a little bit later in the show about how this sort of a meteoric rise of St. Raphael School in the last probably 6 or 7 years. It's amazing. And as usual, it's all about great leadership and about dedication to a mission. And
that's right.
We're just pleased to be a part of it.
So, Father Tony, let's start with your early days as a young boy in Hardin County.
That's right.
I've read that your father was a huge influence in your initial Catholic faith formation.
Yeah, so I grew up just outside of Elizabethtown. I was telling you earlier that was the closest Walmart. So
that's right.
That's where we say we're from.
That's right.
And so I was raised by a single dad, which is kind of unusual. My mom was always present, but their marriage ended when I was little. And so she was always a part of my life, but I was mostly with my dad. And my dad was Catholic. My mom at the time was not. And so he was very big on, when he grew up out at St. John in Rineyville, their parish and the life of their parish was everything. And so that's kind of how he approached raising me, was we were very involved at St. Benedict in Lebanon Junction is where we started out.
Yep.
And then eventually we moved into the big city of Elizabethtown and joined St. James Parish there, which became my home parish. So we were just very involved. We were always at church. Anything that was going on, we were a part of. And so that reality of faith was central to who he was. And I always say his greatest loves were Jesus and the church. So
beautiful.
How about your educational journey? So I know you ended up going to high school in Nelson County, but there was some time when you couldn't attend Catholic schools, right?
Yeah, so I hopped around a little bit. So I started out at St. Benedict in Lebanon Junction, which was a tiny little school.
Yep.
We shared, a teacher had 2 grades, one teacher had 3 grades. We had 4 classrooms, and our enrollment just kept going down. It's a small town. And so eventually, when I was in 2nd grade, they announced that the school would not be continuing. And we were clustered, our parish was clustered with St. Aloysius in Shepherdsville. So I went to school at St. Aloysius for a couple years, which now unfortunately is closed.
Right.
But St. Aloysius was just far away, and it doesn't seem that far, but it was far away.
Sure.
And it's hard to make that commute. So after a couple of years there, I went to public schools in the county, and I did that for 4 years, for 5th through 8th grade, and very much missed what Catholic education offered in terms of community, in terms of faith.
Sure.
I had never been in a school that was not a Catholic school before. And so
that community is different.
Community is different, yeah. And because the people are choosing actively to be there rather than this is where you live, so you go there. And so when it came time for high school, I really wanted to go to Bethlehem and Bardstown, and the cost was a factor.
Sure.
And we were just very, very blessed that there were some both generous people that help with that are part of Bethlehem's community, but also they had a staff that was so dedicated. Our principal said, if you want to come here, before your tagline was out, the answer is yes. He's like, we will figure it out if you want to be a student here. So
awesome.
I got the great blessing of going back to Catholic school for high school.
That's fantastic. Yeah. We were talking earlier, Rich. So I've always called it Bethlehem, but Father Tony says technically it's Bethlehem.
Yeah, like the city. We all say Bethlehem. And nobody knows why it's pronounced Bethlehem, but it technically is.
Yeah, might be a Kentucky thing.
Well, no, whenever I go to Bardstown, and I used to say it the other way.
Oh yeah, they look at you.
What are you doing?
They look at you like you have 10
Not the way we say it.
Yeah.
It's like Louisville, you know?
It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
Louisville, that's right.
Exactly.
That's not pronounced correct either. All right, Father. So your Bethlehem experience.
Yeah.
Did that start your realization of your calling to the priesthood?
Yeah, in a way, I would say it kind of amped it up. So being raised by my dad, he came from a generation. I was a surprise, which is a better way of saying accident, I guess.
Right.
But so my dad was older than other kids my age, parents, and his generation was very much thinking about your vocation and praying about your vocation was a normal thing.
Right.
So every young man should consider priesthood. Every young woman should consider religious life. And so I had thought about it, but I never really took it seriously.
Right.
Once I got to Bethlehem, though, what I found was a place, the culture of that school was so great and that everything was celebrated equally. But it was also, and I don't know if it's the rural context or just that it's a smaller school, but if you were into your faith and you wanted to dive into that, you could do it. And there was a space for that. And so seeing the witness of my dad's own faith and then having that space at school where I could dive in and really get to know the faith more, not hide that I was thinking about priesthood, not be embarrassed by that, kind of cultivated an environment. And then we were blessed with a great chaplain my senior year, Father Michael Wimsett, who's he's pastor of my home parish down in E-Town.
Yep,
and he was my vocation director for a bit. But when I talked to him about it, he said, you've got nothing to lose. So go to seminary and try it out. So that's what I did.
Yeah, because you could always kind of back out if you had to.
You can always leave. And the church can always say no. you know? So there's that time of discernment. And so I think Bethlehem, though, created a really good environment for that and to teach me about a good, healthy community, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful community there.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So I'm going to jump around here a little bit here, but you applied to seminary at the age of 17.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of unheard of, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We were very much a school, like Bethlehem is proudly a college prep school, like all of our high schools. And so you had to think about what was next. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was really that encouragement from Father Michael that the seminary that I was going to go to, if I were to be accepted, was at a university. So it really was like, there is absolutely nothing to lose, because if I love the university and discern that priesthood isn't it,
do something different.
All I do is move out of the seminary and into a dorm or transfer to a different school. So it was really, just going to see. Archbishop Kurtz would say all the time that you don't go to seminary to become a priest. That eventually may happen, but you really go to figure out and discern if that's what God wants. So, I think I just had an environment where it felt reasonable to do that and to go for it at a younger age. So, I was accepted right after I graduated. I turned 18 at the end of my senior year of high school, and then was accepted. It was funny. They announced at the school I was going to seminary, and I was like, I haven't been accepted yet. So then that fall I went to seminary.
But that was Marian University in Indy, right?
Yeah. So Marian University in Indianapolis is a Franciscan university. I would say small. It's doubled in size since I've been there.
It's gotten a lot bigger.
It's gotten a lot bigger.
It has.
And about a mile down the road was the seminary building. We started on campus, but kept outgrowing the spaces. So about a mile down the road is a former Carmelite monastery that the seminary is housed in, and it's still there today.
Were there a lot of men studying with you at the time at Marian?
Yeah, so we had, the seminary was really at its height then. The number has dipped a little bit, but it's starting to climb back up. We were at our largest at about 50, which Archbishop Daniel B. Klein from Indianapolis founded us, and he wanted it to be no bigger than that. So we even added on to the building, and we added on intentionally so that it couldn't really be bigger than 50.
Wow.
Because for him, he was a Benedictine monk, and community that we've kept talking about is really important. And so having that small community where the guys could really get to know each other and not stay at a surface level friendship was really important to him. So
it's awesome. It really is.
Yeah. So, Father, what was your seminary experience like? Did the calling for priesthood become more apparent, or was it kind of you just knew the whole time?
I would say it became clearer. When I went in, it was, I just want to see what this is like. A lot of people compare it to dating. Like you date someone to get to know them. You go to seminary, or for young men or women exploring religious life, you visit the community to get to know what it's like. And we had different experiences. We had the academics, but we also had ministry assignments. We had a lot of things to really show us what this life would look like. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it just became clearer and clearer to me that this is what God was calling me to. But also there's the seminary faculty, there's your ministry supervisors who are also challenging you to grow and saying, this is what you need to work on, but also affirming, yeah, it looks like you're on the right track.
Right.
So yeah, it was a beautiful experience.
Well, speaking of that track, so in 2019, you were ordained by Archbishop Kurtz. And at the time, you were the youngest priest in the Archdiocese. I mean, that had to be exciting.
Yeah. So I was ordained I think I was 26, and I held that crown for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And we ordained more men after me, but they were older than me. So I passed that crown to Father Michael Schultz, who I think might still be the youngest priest currently.
Okay.
So,
that would make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, does that, being the youngest priest, I'm involved a little bit in the priest variety show.
Oh, yeah.
And we have a really hard time getting younger priests involved in that. And they feel kind of intimidated by some of the older priests a little bit. Were you ever intimidated, or were you welcomed into the kind of the fraternity, so to speak?
Yeah, I would say I felt very much welcomed in. I think the unique thing with the younger priests is, the pastor I was with a phenomenal pastor, Father Randy Hubbard, who's in my first assignment.
Randy,
and he was an associate pastor for 13 years. Mm-hmm. I was an associate pastor for 3. Your pastor was an associate pastor for 1, right? So
Father Matthew Millay.
Yeah. So the context that we're in, we're having to step up to responsibilities at a younger age than before.
Yeah, understood.
And I think sometimes we feel like, I love the Office of Mission Advancement and what they're doing, but whenever they ask me, I'm like, oh, I don't know that I could do that. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think it's honestly, like, I think sometimes when you're younger, it can feel, you wonder if people take you seriously, so you don't want to give them a reason not to.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. So a couple things about your mom here. So it sounds like there's a twist during your ordination with respect to your mother. Would you share that with us?
Yeah, for sure. So I alluded to earlier, my dad was Catholic. My mom was not, and she was a Baptist, but she was always part of the church. So she would always help with the parish picnic. She was involved in my life. And once I went to the seminary, it was interesting. People would always ask her, well, why don't you become Catholic? Your son might end up being a priest. And she was never offended by it, but it was just kind of like, well, it's all the same. It doesn't really. So I never really pushed it, because I saw her give that answer, and she's content, she's happy, I'm not going to push it. And then really the tolerable quick version of the story is, my best friend was studying, he's a priest of another diocese. He was studying in Rome at the North American College, and had a summer where he had to stay in Europe. And I was like, well, I will definitely come visit you in Europe. Sure. That's better than rural Illinois. So I went to visit him, and he was a phenomenal tour guide, but I was just exhausted. And so I kind of quit paying attention to where we were going. And we end up in this church, and I just went to lay on a slab of marble to cool off. And when we were there, I just got this very strong urge to pray for my mother. And so I did, and I felt the Lord speak very clearly, it's time to ask her to consider becoming Catholic.
Interesting.
And that you need to do it. And I was like, I don't know about that. So we were leaving, and I was like, I'm not going to tell a soul this. And my friend was walking with me, and I was like, where were we just now? And he was like, oh, we were at the Basilica of St. Augustine, and we were at St. Monica's tomb. St. Monica is Augustine's mother, and her prayers are why we have St. Augustine. She prayed him into the faith, and she's a patron saint of mothers. And as we were walking and talking, he said, yeah, well, I was in there. I really got this urge to pray for your mom. And
he says that?
Yeah. And so I just shared with him, and he's like, oh, I think you need to. So I chickened out, and I told my spiritual director about it, and I decided I'm going to do a novena, which is 9 days of prayer, asking the intercession of Saint Therese of Lisieux. So Therese, one of her big things is you ask her for roses for a particular intention. So I was like, all right, if I'm supposed to have this conversation, I want to see yellow roses because those aren't too common. And I'm at a seminary in the middle of nowhere. I'm not going to see yellow roses. So the last day, or maybe it was the day after the prayer ended, we went to CVS in a little town called Ferdinand, the next town over. Mm-hmm. And a guy was going from the seminary and wanted me to go with him. And I grabbed a couple things I needed. And when we get up to the checkout counter, the cashier gets out these flowers, and there's this giant bouquet of 24 yellow roses that they just happen to have there, and they never have flowers there. So I called my spiritual director, and he started laughing and was like, we need to have a talk. So fast forward to Thanksgiving, I just told my mom all of that and said, I won't be offended if you say no, but I feel like I have to ask you this question. And she said, yeah. And I've been thinking about this for a while, and I knew if you asked me, then it's what I was supposed to do.
There's the power of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, that's the Holy Spirit. You can't deny
Spirit.
that.
So, I literally just got chills.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That story's unbelievable.
Yeah. So then she did preparation with one of our Dominican sisters, and then it was all timing, the Holy Spirit. We weren't forcing anything. She was going to be ready by the Easter season. So at my first Mass, I got to confirm her. I got permission from Archbishop Church to do that and give her First Holy Communion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In his first Mass as a priest.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a pretty good ordination.
Yeah. All my firsts were with my parents. So my mom I confirmed and gave First Communion to at my first Mass, all those firsts. And then my dad was ill at that point, and so he was the first person I gave the anointing of the sick to, and his was the first funeral that I celebrated.
Oh, my goodness.
So a lot of those, he died about a week after I was ordained, and he had been sick for a while.
Yeah.
So
that had to be extremely difficult.
Yeah, it was. But there was beauty there that, of course, you can't see till later. But it was really special that all of those firsts got to be with these people who gave me my life and loved me and helped me.
Wow.
Grow in my faith.
Thank you for sharing all that, Father. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Super powerful.
It is powerful. Okay, so let's switch gears to the education piece here. So at the ripe age of 28, you were assigned to the pastor of a very large parish here in Louisville, St. Raphael the Archangel on Bardstown Road. Yep. What was that like at the beginning, and how have you grown in this role?
Yeah. It was a little scary when I got the phone call. The Archbishop wanted me to go there. I was like, what? Because it wasn't on the radar at all.
And you had not been a pastor at a school yet, right?
Yeah, I had been ordained for 3 years. I was associate pastor at 2 parishes that had a lot of life and a lot going on, but they did not have a school. So it was a surprise to get St. Raphael, but it was also this is totally new territory, having a school.
Right.
And I have loved it, and I've learned. I think how I've grown is coming to the realization that I don't have to do everything by myself.
Sure.
And just having really good leaders around me to help me minister, especially in our school. Our school has an amazing team. And
they do.
It's good to be able to just trust. I don't know anything about education, but our parish, this is such an important ministry, and it's just good. We have such a phenomenal, our principal, our assistant principal, the whole administration, our teachers, they're so good at what they do. And it's been a blessing. Yeah. To have that, because I know my experience, even though it was in high school, Catholic education is a big part of me. And so getting to kind of invest in that in my ministry is a gift. Yeah.
Rich, St. Raphael is a wonderful school, obviously, but it's seen an amazing revival over the last several years. Tell us about that.
It's unbelievable. A few years back, maybe 8-10 years back, the enrollment really started to fall off for lots of different reasons. And actually, I think it actually dipped under 200 students, which was sort of alarming given the size of that facility. And several people kind of stepped up to make things happen. Jill Tabor became the principal. Father Shane Duvall became the new pastor. There was sort of a changing of the guard, if you will. And all of a sudden, it caught fire. And next thing you know, it's 250, then it's 300. Tony shows up today. Last fall, this thing hit 474 in enrollment. Okay, so you're at 190. And a few years later, you're at 474, which is still not capacity, but that's a big school.
Oh, yeah.
And for our part, we play a small part in this, okay? The real part is the leadership of the pastor and the principal, and we're proud to sort of play a part in this. So, for example, at the school last fall, we supported 147 students with tuition assistance out of 474. It's a decent ratio, and the total awards were over $300,000. So we were a sort of a meaningful contributor to families who weren't able to pay the full tuition over there, and and that's what we talk about with all our schools, with the combination of access and community. Yeah, you can't beat it. Yeah. You just can't beat the community. It's awesome.
So, Father, you kind of hit on it, and you made the comment you don't know a whole lot about education, and so it sounds like you kind of let the leaders lead that you put in place. But what's your involvement at the school level?
Yeah, I would say I'm definitely still involved. I regularly am meeting with our administration, most especially. I try to get into classrooms as often as I can,
which is great.
I see them every week at school mass. When I find out about things that are going on, if I can make it happen and show up, I'll go. But it is really a blessing for me to work alongside our administration, because that growth really was thanks to good leaders that were there before us,
right?
And getting to pick that up. When I started at St. Raphael, we were at, I think, about 425 students around there. So in the last 4 years, we've grown that much, and we're projecting to grow next year too. So, and there are a lot of factors to that, but getting to work with our administration and I love seeing people in their element.
Yeah.
Right. You just see them come alive, and our teachers are that way.
Yep.
When I visit our classrooms, they're so dedicated, and how they just pour their hearts into this is so beautiful. And our school administration, they are just in their element when they're doing this. And we talk a lot about partnership, but we see ourselves as partnering with families who are the first educators, right, of educating with their children. But we also need partners like CEF. We could not do what we do without you, because I'm very proud of the fact that our school runs a deficit. I brag about it, because that means we are making it as accessible as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's a good point. Great point.
Because that's Catholic education started for the poor. And so if we can be as accessible as possible, we have to realize we have to pay a just wage and pay our bills. But if we can be as accessible as possible, that's really, really important to me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think everybody at the school, and actually Amy Fears has been on this podcast a year or so ago talking about, and she's sort of a subject matter expert on all the map testing that goes on in the schools.
That woman loves her data.
Measures all the success.
She can talk about it well too.
Yeah. And she's done a fantastic job at the school, and has really contributed to the success of a lot of other teachers and principals throughout the system around how to improve our learning in our schools. And she's amazing.
Yeah, she's a huge blessing. And that was, like you mentioned, Miss Tabor, she was such a great leader, and really was one of the driving forces behind that enrollment. And so I was excited to get to work with her. And when she made the decision to step away, I was like, what are we going to do? And that's just where God provides, exactly who you need when you need them. And we've seen that over and over again at St. Raphael.
So recently you've been named the director of the Office of Youth and Young Adult Ministry for the Archdiocese of Louisville. Tell us about that new adventure.
Yeah, so it's one of the offices in the Chancery, and
Big time.
Really, yeah. But really, all of the pastoral ministry offices kind of serve as an extension of Archbishop's ministry, right? In different areas. We have family ministry, Hispanic ministry, worship. So ours, youth and young adults, covers basically when the church talks about youth, we're speaking of middle and high school students.
Okay.
When the church talks about young adults, I find this really kind of odd. It's 18 to 39. There's a whole lot of life that happens 18 to 39.
There's a whole lot of life.
But they're in one category together.
Okay.
And so really our office, it's myself. I have a phenomenal, amazing associate director, Jonna O'Brien. Our secretary, Morgan Lucas, is great. Where we really see our role is supporting parishes. That's what any office at the diocesan level is supposed to do. So our focus that we've taken is really helping parishes figure out how to do youth and young adult ministry really well. I was speaking to you earlier. One of the things I'm really proud of, I'm a full-time pastor and I have this role, so I can't get out to our parishes as much as I want. But Jonna is on the road and she has visited, I'm comfortable saying over 30 parishes since July. And she will come out to your parish, and if you have a youth minister, talk with them about what the strengths are and how to improve. A lot of our parishes are in a place where they can't afford a youth minister. And so if you've got a core group of volunteers, Jonna will come out, and she's doing this now with several parishes, and basically provide a toolkit and coaching of here's how to do it really, really well. So that's kind of where we've taken our focus. Different offices that are the same in different dioceses do things in different ways. And a lot are really heavy on offering a ton of events for young people. And we do have some, like we facilitate the National Catholic Youth Conference. We've done some events, and we will do some events here, but our main focus is really working with the ministers, because our parishes are what it's all about.
Right.
Those are the communities where people are encountering Christ in the sacraments and in their community. It's where they're hearing the word of God proclaimed. And we want to make sure that ministry there is really, really strong.
Yeah. So this engagement with the youth, Father, did this come from your experiences as a young student?
Yeah. You mean how I got here?
Yeah.
I think sometimes I wonder why. Why did I get asked to do this? I think that's part of it is I was a very involved teenager. I had some youth ministry experiences in seminary.
Right, yeah.
I served as chaplain of one of our high schools for 6 years. I was at Sacred Heart Academy. Not currently.
So, but you were at Sacred Heart for 6 years.
I was at Sacred Heart for 6 years, and I stepped away to focus on the parish more, and then I got asked to take on this role. So it was actually good because it allowed me to focus on this new role too. So yeah, I think just having those experiences and being young myself, tomorrow I turn 33. So it's being technically a young adult myself, I think gives me a lens of that and what young people are experiencing.
Great answer.
Yeah.
So from your vantage point, is it sort of at the parish level, do we sort of need to invest more financial resources and human resources into this endeavor, or how would you gauge that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's both. Like there's a lot of ministry you can do for free or for very low cost, but you need to be willing to invest in it. But really it's people. There are a lot of studies that show the religious practices of young people, and overall, what we say a lot is what the research shows, that every young person needs 5 adults who are investing in their faith and witnessing their faith to them. And the studies also show if both parents are really engaged in their faith, that really only counts as 1 adult. So they still need all of these other adults. And that's where our Catholic schools come in, because where else are they encountering adults? It's going to be their teachers. It's going to be their school administrators. It's going to be their coaches and their sport programs.
That's where it clicks.
That is where it clicks.
It's not just mom and dad, although they're a big piece of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
And it's all these mentors, counselors, coaches, your favorite teacher. All these people play a role in your life that's just unbelievable.
And that's what it's not just mom and dad. It is these other adults, but it is also mom and dad.
Right.
Like that's, I think a lot of times the parents I talk to will say, well, my kid doesn't want to talk about faith with me. They don't want to, well, all of the data suggests otherwise. The kids want to hear and see the witness of their parents' faith. And I think one thing the church needs to work on, that our office is thinking about a lot right now, is how can we help parents have conversations about faith with their children, with their teenagers? How can we help parents pray as a family?
That's right.
I think a lot of it is, I don't think it's that they don't want to. I think a lot of times they're not quite sure how.
Yeah.
And if the church can help bridge that gap, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it really begins. It sort of begins and ends with prayer in the home.
Yeah.
Whether that's at a meal, at the end of the day, I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities. But if you can foster that tradition in your own home when they're very young, it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and you don't have to make it up. One of our monks at St. Meinrad used to say that all the time. Like, we're Catholics, we don't have to make anything up. There's so many resources, even in tech, like the Hallow app, right? Like, I have a lot of families in our parish that they listen to the readings of the day,
right,
and a reflection, and then talk about it as a family. And it's that they didn't have to make anything up. They just hit play, listened, and then talked.
Yeah, there's a ton of resources in tech. Yeah. You know, we mentioned coaches. I've been honored to be a confirmation sponsor the last few years for kids that I've coached in basketball. It's just, you know, it's a cool, you know, that's where this comes from.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And so when you said the 5 adults, I'm sitting there thinking, man, I've been one of those.
Yeah,
5
you've
adults.
been one of those adults for those.
But
people.
you know, that's something you can't take lightly either.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. So, Father, it seems like the pipeline of young men studying for priesthood is growing in the Archdiocese of Louisville. How do you see that evolving over time?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I entered seminary, there were 18 of us, and that was the highest it had been in years. And then it kind of went down a little bit as guys were ordained and kind of not replaced. Now it's climbing. I think we're at 23 or 25. It's in the 20s.
It's in the mid-20s.
And I think that number is going to go up. And I think it's just talking about it. I think we've seen a great improvement. Father Martin Lineback, our current vocation director, has made a lot of strides in getting people talking about vocations and really considering it.
Yep.
And I think too, you know, we're about to have, he's retired, and we're about to have Father Stephen Reeves and Father Matt Millay, your pastor. Another plug for Father Matthew.
Yeah, he's going to kill it. He's going to be fantastic in that role.
Sharing that role. And I think, I think we're going to continue to see growth. Young people today are more open to faith than any generation prior. Sure. All of the data shows that, and there are a million factors we could talk about all day that go into that. But I think that's naturally a part of it, is as they're encountering Christ, they're also wondering, what do I do with this? That doesn't mean that every man that's into his faith is going to become a priest or should, right?
Right.
Because we need good fathers and husbands. And not every young woman who's into her faith is going to run off to a convent. We need it all. That is the church.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think we're just going to keep seeing it grow, which is a beautiful thing. And I think the leadership has been and is going to keep being really, really good there.
Yeah, I would say hats off to Father Martin Lineback, who's a very good friend.
He has been fantastic.
Fantastic guy who really took the latter part of his career. He's retiring this summer and really put his all into it.
He has,
And the results show.
Yeah.
So God bless him for his great works.
Yeah.
And the two folks that are coming in behind him bring, I think, a different perspective, a different way of doing it, if you will, that I think kind of complements his work.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think you're right. I think things get better. They're not the same. They're going to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a great foundation there, and the new leadership's going to do fantastic. Father, last question.
Yeah.
In your role as a priest, you are often called upon to provide support in times of great personal loss, grief, stress that people encounter in their lives. How do you maintain the courage and the commitment to serve this crucial role?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we had that in our own community. Rich and I were talking about that just last week, a young person that very sadly passed away. I think it's, I think the biggest thing is getting out of the Lord's way and letting him speak through you and use you as your instrument. And that's something that we're all called to.
Yeah.
And our ministry to one another and our relationships with one another. I think, yeah, it's just asking for the gift to be truly present. It's easy to get caught up in what do I have to do next, or I'm worried about this conversation I had this morning, but really grounding yourself and asking the Lord for the gift of being present to people when they're in front of you. And just praying, letting the Lord speak, and being comfortable saying that. I think in ministry in general, one of the biggest gifts to me was the realization, that advice I got to admit what I don't know. And whether that's someone asked me a finance question, I don't know. Let me ask my business manager. Someone asked me a question, I don't know this about the school. Let me ask my principal. But the same is true when people have, like, I said last week at that funeral, I don't know why this happened and I don't know what to say. And we have to sit in that mystery.
Yeah.
And I think it's just being willing to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Father, you need your own podcast. I think people would listen.
For sure.
On behalf of everyone at the foundation, thank you, Father, for your lifelong commitment to our church and your great works that impact the lives of so many people. And Rich, as every Catholic school family in need now knows, at the Catholic Education Foundation,
The answer is yes.
Father, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Father. Great job. Appreciate you.